Cool. All right, well, we are at 2 minutes after, so I don't want to waste any more time. We'll go ahead and get started. Um, Today is one of our quick hit series for the first quarter of the year. This is the third webinar in the current series. We are going to be talking today about improving candidate engagement with Hireology. We've got several tools that we're going to talk about, how to use the tools to drive better engagement and just get better outcome with Hireology as a system. My name is Ashley Tuggle. I'm a senior customer success manager here at Hireology. I've been with the company for about 3.5 years. I work solely with automotive customers personally, but of course we've got plenty of customers in other verticals that our other CSMs work with as well. But it's nice to meet you all. Happy to have you on the call. So before we dig into product advice, I wanted to give a little bit of a broader market context as to why candidate engagement matters so much in today's world. To do that, I'm going to bring in some data from recent Hireology research that we conducted. We put out a survey last year to about 1,000 employers in all of our verticals. And one big takeaway that we found is around ghosting. Ghosting basically means that a candidate simply drops out of the process without any sort of communication to indicate that they're going to do so. We actually have found that ghosting has gotten worse, unfortunately. In 2021, 84% of respondents said that they'd been ghosted by a candidate in the past year, but in 2022, that number jumped to 91%, which is super high. The impact this has on you as an employer is high. You've invested time and resources into the candidate, especially if you were really excited about them and they drop off at a certain point of the process. Not only have you lost out on the opportunity to bring them on board, but you've also lost time and energy spent. So ghosting is a huge problem, and it has an impact with, or I guess I should say engagement has an impact sometimes on ghosting. The same pattern goes for getting ghosted on an offer. So the past statistic or the previous statistic was ghosting on interviewing. This one is on offers themselves, and the pattern stays consistent. In 2021, 58% said that candidates had ghosted when they received an actual job offer. And that jumped to 82% in 2022. So again, a big increase and a really high number affecting your ultimate bottom line and lost time and energy as well. So what does this have to do with engagement? Well, in a separate survey that we conducted of applicants, we asked who has ghosted in the past and why have you ghosted? The top answer was that the process ultimately took too long. This tells us that the main reason people are ghosting has to do with something that we're doing, not something that they're doing. Of course, there are other reasons that people said that they were ghosting as well. Things like they received another job offer, the company seemed disorganized and other companies seemed more organized. Those show up pretty high on the list as well. And you can see some of the other answers that they gave. Ultimately, the story that this tells us is that candidates feel like if you're moving too slow and your process is messy or unorganized and doesn't seem cohesive, that they're going to move forward with a company that moved faster, but also provided a better experience. Expanding further on the point, candidates have plenty of options for work. When we asked how many jobs they've applied to in the most recent survey that we sent out, 50% said they applied to more than 16 jobs. That means that they really just don't have to force themselves to navigate an inconvenient or clunky process. They can take offers with companies that are equipped to provide a good experience, move quickly, make them feel like they're interested, and it makes the process simple for them. So what's the takeaway from what we learned when it comes to ghosting and how many companies that people are applying to? It's that staying engaged with the candidate is critical. If you want to keep them and retain the best quality candidates, you have to stay engaged through the full process. We're going to talk about in the rest of the webinar how to do this inside Hireology with a few of the tools that we have at your disposal and offer some advice just kind of even outside of Hireology and things that you can do to stay engaged with your candidates. So how does Hireology help with this? If you're familiar with our platform, and I assume that all of you are, we like to bucketize our tools into 3 different categories. So attract, hire, and manage. What we're going to be talking about today is going to focus in the hire bucket regarding tools that we have that involve candidate engagement. The specific tools that I want to focus on today are going to be texting, the interview scheduler that we have, the checklist feature that we have, and the offer letter feature. First things first is texting. We're going to dig into that because it's one of the most important tools to keep you engaged with your candidates. I'm going to show you how it works inside the app, how it looks, and then some tips and tricks for maximizing the value. This is what it looks like when you potentially would send a text message to an applicant or a candidate. You can access the texting screen from any person's profile in the system, whether they are an applicant or a candidate, either or. When you use the texting feature, if you haven't used it before, it's very simple. You push a button just like you would for an email. It generates a fake phone number when it comes to on the candidate side, so they see it just like it's a regular phone number coming to their phone, like a normal text, even though you're sending it through the platform. It also makes it so that you don't have to give out your personal number. So there's no follow-up that they can do with you or reaching out later, anything like that. It makes it really simple to send it through the system. So you'd click the SMS button and you'd immediately be popped up with this screen. Don't forget too that we have a mobile app if you're not already using it, and you can access the text messaging feature through the mobile app as well. Oops, sorry. So some tips when it comes to maximizing value with the texting. Coach your managers to use templates. You can see on this screen here that there's a drop-down screen where you can pull down a list of the templates that you have in your system. If you coach your managers to create and use templates for themselves when it comes to texting, it can make it really easy to use the feature because they don't have to type the message completely from scratch. They can also make text messages templates for things that they send out regularly, different types of communication, messages that they like to send, things they like to say, even just things like looking forward to seeing you at your interview tomorrow. So coach them to use the templates. It makes it faster and easier. You can also coach them to use dynamic fields. Looks like we got a question. Let me just review that really quickly. I noticed when using the mobile app, I cannot pull up my templates to use on the app. You are actually correct, Joellen. The mobile app is not capable of using templates yet. It's mostly for just a quick follow-up message. You can use obviously the templates inside the platform, and coming soon, we will be launching, I'm not sure when exactly it's on the roadmap, but I know it's coming, the ability to use the texting templates inside the mobile app. So you're correct about that. Dynamic fields. So you can coach your managers as well to use dynamic fields in the template so that it automatically populates name, role, etc. It makes it very easy for sending a message and using the same template for multiple people for different positions, different stores, different people, even mass text messaging. That's something that's a feature inside the system as well. You can send a message to multiple individuals, the same message, but if you have the dynamic fields loaded, it will change the name for each individual that you're sending the message to. Keep in mind that if you're using mass text messaging as well, it doesn't send the message to everyone on the same thread. They'll all have their own separate message looking like it came to them individually. Mass text messaging makes it very easy to engage quickly with folks without having to worry about taking the time to message each one separately and on an individual basis. But text messaging overall is a really good way to stay involved with the candidate and keep in touch with them. It's a good idea to use it for a variety of things, including just a simple check-in, showing empathy or giving a human touch, various steps in the process to remind them of those steps as well. There's a lot of good ways that you can use text messaging. Keep in mind too that outside of the mobile app and just messaging within the individual's profiles, you can also use the inbox feature that we have, the little envelope in the top right-hand corner of your screen. That brings up the inbox feature, which allows you to see the communication that you have going on with multiple applicants, so anybody that you're currently talking to, so that you don't have to toggle back and forth between individual profiles. In addition to text messaging, just to remind them about steps in the process, I said you can also do it to check in, show empathy, and things along that line. But it's a good way to even just do things like give them tips for their upcoming interview, offer them more information on your culture and benefits, ask them if they have questions. Just keep engaged with them through the process so that it makes it feel like there's not long periods of time that they're going without hearing from you. And again, keep it short and sweet, get to the point. You want it to be something that they can glance at and see your message and grasp what you're saying. You don't want it to be too wordy or difficult for them to understand what the action is that you're asking them to take. Here are some examples of what text messaging can look like from the candidate perspective. This is done through our mobile app here. You can see that it looks just like a normal text message, but these are some examples of some things that you can use text messaging for. So you can get personal, you can be casual, straight to the point, offer empathy, whatever it makes sense to be doing. This is a screenshot here of the inbox. I referenced this earlier that you can use the inbox feature to manage your communication. Again, it's the little envelope in the top right-hand corner. We just recently made some inbox enhancements to make using this feature a little bit easier. Previously, when you clicked on a message in the inbox, you went directly into the candidate's profile and it took you off whatever you were on the main part of the screen and you were in their profile to message back. Now you can message directly back in the inbox feature and you do have access to all of your templates in the inbox. So again, as Joellen pointed out, no access to the templates in the mobile app currently. That will come, but you do have them in the inbox feature and the desktop. Next feature I want to talk about is interview scheduling. This is the automated tool we have that syncs with the hiring manager's calendars, and it generates messages to candidates with available time slots of when you're free to do an interview. See, we've got a question, so let me just check that one out really quickly. How do you get inbox messages to move over to the reviewed side? Good question. So if you are in the inbox feature here and you click this little button that shows the email or the text message, that tells the system that it's been reviewed. I think it pops up a little message that says reviewed and you can confirm, but you click this little circle with the icon in it and that will move it over to reviewed. Good question. Got another question here. When I use the inbox, but I want to go to the profile and look back at what all is going on, when I reply back from their profile, it doesn't go away from my inbox like it does when I reply back from their profile. When I reply back from their profile from the inbox. I'm not sure that I understand that question. If you could rephrase it, because you asked when I reply back from their profile, it doesn't go away. And then you said like it does when I reply back from their profile. So I'm not sure I quite understand. Will you rephrase it and I'll be happy to answer the question. Thanks. It's anonymous, so I can't tell you who that was that asked. Hopefully they can rephrase. Okay, so interview scheduling. This is what the interview scheduler looks like. This is a newer feature, so some of you might not have seen this or might not have used it yet. Previously, we had the manual scheduler that you could go in after you spoke with the candidate about the date and the time, and you could log it in the system to have the interview saved. But this new automated scheduler that we have is a really great feature because it eliminates the need to even go back and forth about when the candidate can come in and interview. You can literally review their application and then send them over this interview scheduler, and it generates an email for you. And the email basically says, hey, thanks for applying. We're interested in speaking with you. When can you come in for an interview? Attached are the options and the available time slots that I have. It's basically like OpenTable. So I don't know if any of you have ever used OpenTable for reservations. I don't know about you, but if there is a restaurant that I'm interested in trying and it's not on OpenTable, I'm going to go to my plan B or my plan C and find one that is on OpenTable because I'm not going to call and make a reservation. I want to schedule it through the system where I can see the options, pick the time, and there, boom, it's scheduled. This interview scheduler works in the exact same way. If you send over the candidate availability, they can select from the choices, pick the time that works for them, and boom, the interview is confirmed. It will send a confirmation email to you as soon as the candidate confirms, and it'll also put a block on your calendar for the date and time. It'll also send the candidate an email saying that they've confirmed the interview and asking if they want to put a block on their calendar as well, which can sometimes help with making sure that people show up because it automatically, all they have to do is say yes, they want to put it on their calendar and boom, it's there. They don't have to worry about going and doing it on their own, which can kind of cut down on that. So that's a really helpful feature as well. So if you use this tool, you basically can sync your calendar, which you can do under the hi and your name in the top right-hand corner. Sync your calendar and it will show you all of your available dates and times, and you can send over as many dates or times as you want. Before you actually pick your times, you'll select what type of interview you want it to be, phone or in person, how long you want it to be. It'll automatically populate for the options for everybody on the hiring team. So if you're not on the hiring team, you can't schedule an interview for yourself. Be aware of that. Once you've done all of that, it'll give you those available times and dates based on your calendar being synced. And again, you can schedule or you can pick several dates several times and send multiple choices to the candidate. It's not going to automatically send over everything that you're available because there might be times that you don't actually want to include an offer. Like maybe you want to eat lunch at noon. It's free in your calendar, but you don't want to include it. So you don't have to. You'll pick what you want. You'll select next. And then it'll pop up this email that I referenced. So thanks for your interest. We want to speak with you. Here are the choices for interview. Let's get it scheduled. I can't remember the statistic right off of my head, but it's something along these lines. Once we launched this feature, we had a 308% increase in interviews being scheduled with this tool as opposed to the manual one, and also a 1.5 day decrease in the time it took to review or to schedule, I apologize. So great tool to keep in touch with the candidate, keep engaged with them, come to them where they want to be received, and make the process really easy for the candidate. When it comes to getting the most value out of this tool, a lot of the pushback that I hear personally from my customers are, ooh, that feels like a lot of steps, syncing my calendar, picking the dates and times. It feels easier just to pick up the phone and call. But here's the reality. When you pick up the phone and call, how often do you actually get a hold of the person right away on that first phone call? Most of the time, there's a lot of phone tag going back and forth, and that's just not convenient for anyone, and it's not conducive for time. Again, the majority of candidates ghosting is because the process isn't moving fast enough. So let's keep it going. Let's use the scheduler that quickly gets in front of them. They can select the date and time that works for them without feeling pressured to say yes on the phone. They can look at their calendar, talk to their spouse, whatever it might be. The value is huge for the candidate is ultimately what it boils down to. Again, you can sync your calendar under hi and your name in the top right-hand corner to make it easy to see your availability without toggling between your calendar and the scheduler. We're also going to be rolling out in the near future, it's on the roadmap, group interviews, so you can sync your calendar and see shared availability between multiple managers, as well as the virtual interview option. Again, you can use the interview scheduler as your initial response as opposed to reaching out to say hello, thanks for applying, and then trying to schedule the interview. Got another question here. Does the scheduler update if another applicant books an interview time prior to another applicant who's offered that same time? Yes, it does. It updates in live time. So if I offer the same 6 times to 3 candidates and one picks one time, one picks the other, those will eliminate and remove themselves as options for the candidates who have not yet picked their time. How do you get inbox messages to move over to review? Oh, wait, I already answered that question. My apologies. What's virtual interviews? A virtual interview would be if you wanted to schedule an interview with someone who maybe wasn't local. Let's say you had a position that was going to be remote, or you had a person who was out of the country for a month and they wanted to do an interview with you and they just weren't available to come in, or it was a position where you just needed to sync with somebody for a few minutes and you didn't feel like you needed to bring them in, you could do a virtual interview. That was something that became kind of common during COVID, and it's something that a lot of organizations have continued to do for one of the 2 rounds or for certain types of roles. Okay. Checklists and offer letters. So I wanted to touch on these. They're smaller features when it comes to staying engaged with candidates and having an organized process, because again, that was one of the things that also stopped people or caused people to ghost. Disorganized process and not moving fast enough. So those are the 2 things that we're kind of focusing on. So these 2 features are smaller, but they're mighty when it comes to engagement, checklists and offer letters. Checklists is a feature that you can add inside the system. This is a feature we rolled out maybe 2 years ago. It gets a little more play in healthcare, I think, than some of the other verticals, but it's a great tool overall. It basically allows you to outline your process that you have to ensure that you remember all your checkpoints. So making sure that your process seems organized and you're staying on track with the things that you need to do for each person as they walk through your process. So remembering to send them that text the day before their interview to say, we're looking forward to seeing you. Remembering to get their laptop set up if they have a laptop so that it's ready to go for their first day and everything is good. The checklist just allows you to stay organized and make sure you're doing those touch points and not having a clunky process. The offer letter feature is another step to just, again, stay in tune and in touch with them and maintain an organized process as well. Instead of just verbally offering them in their last interview, which a lot of people do, and then they walk out the door and you don't see them again until they come in for their first day, the offer letter allows you to send them something official afterwards, which feels professional, it feels organized, it makes them feel engaged and more connected and officially yours, if you will. It just is a good look, and it's another touch point, another step that you can do to keep them engaged. And again, look organized. So the offer letter is great. You can find that within the hiring steps under your job to make sure it's available to offer to your candidates. Once you have gone in to send an offer letter to someone, you can use dynamic fields in the offer letter feature, and all of the details will populate once you've created your base template. We do have base templates for you to use for the offer letters, but of course you can tweak them and make them your own. Couple points about maximizing value with the checklist and the offer letter feature. With the checklist, again, you can build a custom process for each role. You can have different checklists for different positions, different departments, to make sure that you're doing everything that you need to do when there are different things, maybe for different types of positions that would need to be done. You don't need to set up a laptop for everyone. You don't need to get an email address maybe for, well, you probably need to get an email address for everyone, but all this to say there's different things that you might want to do for different roles. It also allows you to manage your process for document outreach. So collecting documents that you need from them, any other steps that are important to complete before their first day, and then just track the completion of tasks. When you check those off, it says the date that they were checked off and who checked them off. When it comes to offer letter, again, you can use dynamic fields to add personalization to the offer letter. And you can also turn on an e-signature option. That's a really great offer or option to, again, make it feel very official and professional. Turn on the e-signature so they actually have to sign for the job. It's also, of course, easy with the e-signature. They don't have to print anything, sign and return. It does it automatically for them. Ultimately, these features can make a difference when it comes to just adding that extra layer of convenience and personalization for the candidate, while also ensuring that you're following all the steps that you've outlined in your process. Finally, I just want to provide some additional tips and tricks that some of our customers have had success with. Again, just looking like you have an organized process and staying engaged with the candidates through the process. First one being digital onboarding. A lot of our customers use our digital onboarding tool, and it's a really great step to not only have the candidate complete the digital onboarding before their first day, because it allows them to literally start working on their first day versus sitting in the HR office, but it also gives them something to work on related to the role, gives you a reason to keep in touch with them. You can also include specific details like an intro to their team with fun facts and things like that to keep it very personal. You can go ahead and welcome them to company-wide meetings or social events like happy hours, a bowling team if you have one. Give them advanced insight into your culture to really make them feel excited and engaged with the organization from the start. Maybe have a new member reach out and introduce themselves or share their phone number with the candidate and let them know that they'll be their buddy or their point person for the first 90 days. This way they go into their first day knowing someone and they're excited, and again, continue to feel engaged that 2-week period where maybe they're fulfilling their current obligations with their current job before they start with you. And again, a lot of this outreach and these additional tips and tricks can be done through the Hireology system when it comes to SMS or the scheduler feature. So keep in mind different ways that you can use both of those features to do some of these additional tips and tricks. Ultimately, the big takeaway here is to think outside the box when it comes to the features that we have and how to use them to engage with candidates and potential new hires in a very personalized way to let them know you're an organized organization and you're going to stay in touch through the process to get them excited about their first day. And that's it. That's all I've got. If anybody has any other questions, feel free to pop it in the question and answer chat feature or just the basic chat feature. I'm happy to answer any questions with the remaining couple of minutes that we have. If you have any questions about any of the tools we've talked about today that you want to learn more about that you're not currently utilizing, make sure to reach out to your dedicated CSM, customer success manager if you have one, or you can contact us at support@hireology.com for general questions about any of our tools and features. Looks like we've got one more question here. How do I see my templates for my job postings? I'm guessing that you mean your job templates. So the templates you have for the actual posts that you put out. Is that accurate? Is that what you mean, Jackie? Just want to make sure I answer the question right. Yes. So the way that you would do that is if you go to your list, your jobs page inside the Hireology system, there's a filter on the bottom left-hand corner that says templates. If you click that filter and turn that filter on, it'll pop up all of your jobs that are currently marked as templates. And that way you can see all of the ones that you have that are available for you to edit or tweak for posting. Any other questions about anything related to the content today or anything else? You're welcome, Jackie. Let's see. Beth, when is the next session of the 3? Carly, are you still on the call? Carly would know when that
yes,
is.
This is actually the final quick hit of the quarter. We do have an upcoming quarterly product webinar on March 22nd. And we can certainly send out the link to register for that as well. And we will be doing quick hits in the second quarter as well.
Perfect. I forgot this was the final one of the first quarter. Thank you, Carly. So yeah, we'll have more coming out next quarter. And then this session, obviously, that Carly mentioned. So hopefully that answers your question, Beth. And Keisha, you're welcome. Thanks for joining. You're welcome, Ashley and Crystal. All right. I hope everyone has a good rest of their day. Thanks so much.